Hi, my name is Ingrid Kimball. I'm married to Reverend Richard Kimball, and I've been a pastor's wife for quite a few years. But I need to tell you my story from where I came from. I was born in Scotland right after the war, Second World War, and my mother was German and my father was a Scotsman. Neither one of them spoke their other's language, and along came me. So during my whole life, I always felt sort of different than my brother and my sisters. And when my father was a coal miner, and when the coal mine closed down, my mother's sister lived in Canada, and she talked us into coming to Canada. So I didn't want to go because I was 14 at the time, and I was settled. I had another family that I loved, and they took care of me more than my own family did, and I didn't want to come, but my mother would have left me, but my dad said no. Thankfully, he said no. Anyway, it was a long trip over, and when I got here, I had a lot of responsibility at 15, looking after brothers and sisters, cooking, cleaning, doing things at home that most 15-year-olds today don't do. But anyway, it helped me get to where I am today and made me stronger for it. But my first husband and I, we had 2 boys, and my second son had cystic fibrosis, which was a total shock to us. I think I was 21 when I had him, and I knew nobody with it. I spent most of my days doing his clapping, his pills, washing out his tent, and trying to feed him. He spent a lot of time in sick kids, so there was running back and forth there. But the time he was 2, he was out of the tent, so that was a lot easier. But my husband at the time did not get close to my second son. His name was David, because he was afraid of him dying, and at the time, cystics only lived into their teens, and he didn't want to face the fact that he could die. And I couldn't go to work, so we took in foster children. And I had 6 children at home for 10 years, 4 foster children, my own 2 boys, Ricky and David. And at the age of 36, I had a little foster daughter who gave me a lot of problems. She had ulcerative colitis, and she ended up running away, and it burnt me out. And I ended up with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer, which I was determined to beat because I still had a son at home to take care of. My first husband died at age 51 from a massive heart attack, and I was on my own for many years. I decided I needed a good job, so I always liked driving big vehicles, so I got a job driving for TTC, which is Toronto Transit Commission. But they found out I'd had cancer, so they let me go. So for 2 years I was very angry about not having my job, because my oncologist had given me a clean bill of health. But in the meantime, I sued them through, sorry, I've forgotten the name of the government thing. But they help people who have been wrongly let go, and they got me my job back. But if I was as strong then as I am now, I probably would have sued them for my 2 years back pay and my seniority, which I never got back. But anyway, I needed a job because I had 2 boys at home to take care of, and David couldn't work because he was too sick. And when I hit 42, I was still working at TTC, and David got very sick, and he died at age 21. So that was a very tough time for me. But in the meantime, I'd met this man that I lived with, who turned out to be a cretin, as we call them. But he was very abusive, And after 2 years, I left him and went and lived with my sister. So I've had every decade, I've had a major crisis in my life. But I used to always say, why me, God? Why me? And then I got to the point where I go, why not me? He knows I can handle it, so I would, pick myself up after a while and move on. And I never ever got bitter, which was, my mom was a very bitter lady. Was not a happy lady, and I was determined when I hit, things went bad in my life, that I would not turn out to be like her, because she was a very sad lady and she lost out in a lot in life, and I like to get the most out of life. So anyway, I got through that. It took me many years, but I look back on him fondly, and I would be amiss to say that I'm glad I had him, because he was a super, super nice young man, and there wasn't anybody that didn't like him, and he was very talented. So God had his reasons for giving him to me, and I'm glad I knew him, and I think most of his friends that knew him were glad, because at his funeral it was standing room only, and they had to open up the doors to let more people in. But now my life's pretty good. I'm retired now. Unfortunately, my older son doesn't talk to me, but he's married to a woman who is very controlling, and I used to make myself ill over not being able to talk to him, but I've decided that I prayed and prayed to the Lord that he would take this load off my shoulders, and he did. And now, if he wants to talk to me, that's up to him, but it's his loss, not mine. I have 4 stepchildren now, and step-grandchildren, and they all love me and care about me, and they've made my life grand. So one door closed, and the Lord always opens another door. And I've been blessed for 24 years now with a great husband and great stepkids, and we get together quite a lot, and I wouldn't change my life for anything now. And every step of the way I've learned something more. And as long as you learn from your tragedies and your mistakes, they're not mistakes or tragedies, they're learning curves. And if you can learn from them and move on, the world's a wonderful place. And I think the Lord uses me in many ways. I have friends that I take care of, and I've always been a caretaker, and I like being a caretaker. And I hope to continue it as long as I can, even with my own disabilities. And yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you for listening. I hope it encourages you to, face your problems and move on and take care of them, and not just sit and feel sorry for yourself, because that doesn't get you anywhere. And make sure that you give it all up to the Lord, because he never lets you down. It may seem like it, because when David died, I thought, why did I get cancer and then get a second chance? And I knew when David died, the Lord told me it was because there was no one else to look after him. So, and it's been, 30 years now since I've had cancer, and I'm a survivor, and I'll be a survivor till the day I die. Thank the Lord for that. Amen.